Yun nga, may nakita ako ngayon sa YouTube. Bagong-bago. Namatay yung paranormal expert nang hinawakan yung Annabelle. Creepy. Nasa na YouTube? Dito yun. Nasa na yun? Yan. Ito, panoorin natin to si Annabelle drama. 1, 2, 3.
Hey Ryan, we got more work to do. Again.
A well-known paranormal investigator died just hours after leading a sold-out event featuring one of the most infamous haunted objects in the world, the Annabelle doll.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands.
Mukha pa lang nung Annabelle, creepy na talaga oh.
It happened in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. While officials say there's no foul play, the timing has reignited a lot of dark speculation. We're going to break down what we know and what we don't know right now.
Alas 12 ng gabi. Ay, 11:48 pala ng gabi tayo nanonood ng ganito. Tara, panoorin natin ito, Namatay.
Now, welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. I'm telling you right now, this isn't the kind of story that we usually cover on Sidebar, but I gotta say, this is so chilling, so strange, so mysterious, we have to talk about it, we have to cover it. We often say some of the stories that we cover feel like they come straight out of a horror movie. This one, it is kind of like a horror movie.
Oo nga, no, parang sa horror, yung mga namamatay sa kwan. Yung mga namamatay din sa mga mani-manika na yan, yung mga creepy.
It ended in tragedy. What was supposed to be a sold-out 3-day paranormal event in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, took a very dark and unexpected turn. Dan Rivera, a 54-year-old U.S. Army veteran and well-known paranormal investigator, died suddenly, out of nowhere, on the evening of July 13th, just hours after concluding his Devils on the Run tour, which featured none other than the infamous, allegedly demon-possessed Annabelle doll. Now, if you
Creepy naman ng pag-demonyo na yung naka-possess.
seen any of the Conjuring films or the 2014 movie Annabelle, you already know just how unsettling this doll's reputation is. Over the years, it's been tied to countless eerie and inexplicable incidents, and we're going to get into that a little bit later, but what makes Rivera's death especially disturbing is just how sudden and strangely timed it was. According to Adams County dispatch logs, emergency responders were called to a hotel in Gettysburg at around 8 p.m. on Sunday, July 13th, after someone reported CPR being performed on a man matching Rivera's description. And despite attempts to revive him, Rivera was pronounced dead shortly after. The Adams County Coroner's Office has confirmed that the death is not being treated as suspicious, though the exact cause remains pending, as autopsy results could take 60 to 90 days. But Rivera was the lead investigator for the New England Society for Psychic Research. It's called NESPR. And by the way, this is the same organization that was founded by legendary ghost hunters Ed and Lorraine Warren. He had just wrapped a 3-day showcase of the Annabelle doll at the historic Soldiers National Orphanage in Gettysburg, hosted by Ghostly Images of Gettysburg Tours. Now, the event was a hit. It drew massive crowds. Over 1,260 tickets were sold to see Annabelle and other haunted relics from the Warrens Occult Museum. But according to the Evening Sun, Rivera took precautions to safely display the doll, building a protective case around it, encasing it, by the way, with 3 crosses and vials of holy water. Here's, by the way, how the official tour description put it. Quote, "The Devils on the Run tour is a chilling experience that brings the tales of famed ghost hunters Ed and Lorraine Warren's investigations to life. This tour offers a chance to delve deep into some of the darkest aspects of paranormal activity, including the entities and haunted objects the Warrens encountered during their decades-long career. One of the tour's key highlights is the infamous Annabelle doll, which, despite its seemingly innocent appearance, has been the cause of numerous terrifying incidents. The doll has reportedly brought misfortune, injury, and even death to those who have interacted with it improperly. The Devils on the Run tour takes participants to some of the most haunted places in America, and as part of its special events, it will feature locations like the haunted historic Soldiers Orphanage homestead in Gettysburg, where the spirits of the past still linger. This
Nakakala ko sa ano lang yun, sa mga horror movie, yung mga palabas si Chris Aquino, yung mga Annabelle doll, yung mga ganyan-ganyan. Totoo pala yan, may ganyan.
Stop along the Devils on the Run tour will feature not just the Annabelle doll, but a couple of other haunted relics from the Warrens Occult Museum. So as you know, we're always writing a lot of sidebars here. We're researching, we're doing breaking news, and I'm constantly on the run, and I get hungry. And it's not so easy just to grab something. So that is why I'm so happy we have Huel as our sponsor. It's spelled Huel. And I'll tell you what, this, their Black Edition Ready to Drink, is a total game changer. Why? This is a complete meal in one bottle. 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, high fiber, low sugar, so you feel full, focused, ready for your day. There's no prep, there's no cleanup, just grab and go. Huel has already sold over 500 million meals around the world. By the way, affordable. You get everything you need in less than $5, and I love how many different flavors they have. Iced coffee, strawberry banana, chocolate. So when I'm rushing to get Sidebar done, particularly in breaking news, I can always grab one of these bottles. Start saving time and money without compromising your nutrition today with this exclusive offer for new customers of 15% off plus a free gift using our exclusive code SIDEBAR at
Nag-promote pa siya ng produkto niya. Hindi ako interesado dyan.
But behind the humor was a man who dedicated his life to the paranormal. A native of Bridgeport, Connecticut, Rivera spent more than a decade investigating the supernatural, having been mentored by the late Lorraine Warren, one half of the legendary duo behind the Amityville horror investigation, the real-life Annabelle case. And his passion extended to television as well, with appearances on the Travel Channel's Most Haunted Places, a production role on Netflix's 28 Days Haunted. Rivera was also a pioneer in using social media to bring the paranormal into the mainstream. He leveraged TikTok to promote the tour, helping it reach a massive audience. His videos, which were often created alongside fellow investigator Ryan Buell, racked.
Kaya si Sir Ed, dapat mag-iingat to si Sir Ed eh. Hindi porket expert siya sa ganyan. Nakakatakot talaga yung mga ganyan, no? Lalo na poses ng demonyo.
Up millions of views, and it stirred both fascination and fear as Annabelle made her way across the country.
Hey Ryan, we got more work to do. Again.
You got it. Get the car fired up, I'll get the guys ready.
Creepy nung Annabelle na dahil kala ko sa pelikula na talaga merong ganyan. Totoo pala yan.
Now, NESPR confirmed Rivera's death in just a heartbreaking Facebook post, calling him, quote, a kind, passionate educator who dedicated his life to paranormal research. The message reads, with heavy hearts, we share the sudden and heartbreaking loss of our dear friend and colleague, Dan Rivera. The New England Society for Psychic Research is devastated by his passing and is still coming to terms with the profound loss. Dan was not only a vital part of our team for over a decade, but also a deeply compassionate, loyal, and dedicated friend. A U.S. Army veteran, Dan served both his country and the people around him. He worked closely with Lorraine Warren and remained by her side even as her health declined, always offering a steady hand and unwavering support. Dan was a constant presence with Lorraine and NESPR at local events such as Evening with Annabelle, where his warmth and professionalism left a lasting impression. And the tribute also included a quote from one of Rivera's own posts shared in 2020 after visiting the grave of Ed and Lorraine Warren. In it, he reflects on legacy, memory, the idea that our spirits endure through the lives that we've touched, writing, does life really end? I've asked myself that question today. My answer was in life we leave a piece of ourselves with loved ones and friends in our journey through life until there are no more pieces to give away. You would think that is the end, but when you look back at all the pieces you gave away, those pieces will always be remembered. So I say, I will never die. My journey has only begun.
Matapang din to si Dan Rivera eh, no? Ito yung paranormal na namatay. Matapang din talaga siya.
Fellow investigator Ryan Buell shared an emotional tribute to his dear friend on his Instagram page, writing, "I am utterly heartbroken and sad to write that Dan Rivera, the lead investigator for the New England Society for Psychic Research, NESPR, has passed away this weekend. I have so many amazing memories with this guy. Just as recently as 2 months ago, we traveled around the country and introduced a whole new generation to Ed and Lorraine Warren's legacy. Dan cared for Lorraine towards the end of her life, and he devoted his time passionately to keeping Ed and Lorraine's legacy alive. He was a loving father, husband, and a loyal and caring friend. And what many of you may not know is, privately, he and NSPR helped families who were haunted just as Ed and Lorraine did. One of the many things I loved about Dan is that he was a dreamer with big, bold, and sometimes ballsy ideas. I love that I got to play a small role in that vision. And just as I mourn him, I also mourn his unfinished dreams and ideas for the future. I can't believe I had my final phone call with you and my final moment with you here on this earth. I'll cherish every minute of it." And fans, colleagues, they flooded social media with condolences, remembering Rivera not only for his charisma, but also for his deep reverence for the paranormal. Many recalled his signature protective rituals like the holy water.
Kumbaga yan pala ang Ed Kaluwag ng US, si Dan Rivera. Sa US, may Dan Rivera kayo. Dito sa Pilipinas, may Ed Kaluwag kami. Yan yung pinaka-idol naming lahat na paranormal, si Ed Kaluwag.
Water stain case that he built for Annabelle, sealed with 3 crosses to ward off evil. And as we mentioned earlier, Annabelle's legacy is particularly dark. Despite, again, what's an innocent appearance, a simple Raggedy Ann doll, Annabelle has become one of the most infamous haunted objects in paranormal history. Now housed in the Warren Occult Museum in Connecticut, the doll first gained notoriety in the 1970s after allegedly terrorizing a nursing student named Donna. According to the New England Society for Psychic Research, the events began in 1968. Quote, "A student nurse is given a Raggedy Ann doll as a gift, and she brings it home where she lives with a roommate. Almost immediately, the roommates noticed strange occurrences with the doll, and they were introduced to a medium who told them the doll was inhabited by the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle. The 2 roommates tried to accept the doll's spirit and please it, only to have it reciprocate maliciousness and violent intent. This is when Ed and Lorraine Warren were called and pronounced the doll demonically possessed. They removed the doll from the house and encased it in a glass box to contain the evil-spirited entity. And by the way, the Warrens famously placed a warning on the case, positively do not open. Over the years, Annabelle's legend has only grown, with claims that the doll has moved on its own, lifted its arms, scratched, even caused a fatal car crash involving a priest. One story alleges it once stabbed a police officer. So whether it's fact or folklore, the tales surrounding Annabelle helped inspire the Conjuring universe, started with the 2014 Annabelle film, subsequent spin-offs, and now we have to try to make sense of this. Okay, so we thought we'd bring in somebody to help sort all of this out. I am joined by forensic pathologist, former chief medical examiner, Mary Jambelic. Mary, thank you so much for coming on. Always love having your expertise. This is a different one, okay? So you have the Adams County Chief Deputy Coroner, Scott Pennewill, who said that Rivera's death was, quote, nothing suspicious. What does that tell you?
Well, from what I understand in the brief reporting that has been done on this case is that it was an unwitnessed arrest. So, to my knowledge, there isn't anyone who saw the death happen, who, knows about it, and anytime that is...
Grabe, walang daw, yung pagkamatay, parang walang pumatay. Nakakatakot naman yun, creepy.
The case, you have to look for everything, including signs of suspicious activity. Maybe it's a homicide. You want to make sure there's no trauma on the body. You have to do a thorough scene evaluation as well as an autopsy. Again, I don't know what was done in this case, but if the coroner is saying that, it's based on the preliminary information from the scene, that there's no trauma, no blood, that type of thing.
Could that change?
Of course. I think whenever you begin an investigation, you have to leave room for answering the questions. And so you have to look at what the individual was doing before they died, when they were last seen alive, what's their medical history, were there access to medications or illicit drugs. All of that is going to, play a role in evaluating what happened to the person.
So they retrace his steps for 24 hours before, 48 hours before, what he ate, where he went, what he did, what he consumed, everything like that.
Absolutely. Who saw him? What was his behavior like? Was he complaining of anything? Did he have a sore throat? Did he complain of chest pain? Was he feeling well? All of that is going to play a role in interpreting what is seen at the autopsy.
By the way, when they say cause of death pending, to be clear, does that mean they are unsure what the cause of death is as of right now, or they're waiting?
Iniimbestigahan pa pala yung pagkamatay. Kala ko wala nang, yung pagkamatay niya.
Further results or something else?
I think I would use that term when I was waiting for additional results, typically toxicologic results. So were there any drugs, poisons, chemicals, prescription medication in the decedent's system? Could they have played a role in the death? That is how it might typically be, but it could also be used if they're doing other specialized studies that aren't toxicology related, perhaps a brain analysis, neuropathology, something along those lines.
What does an autopsy look like in a case like this? You're given a body, there is no, let's say, apparent stabbing wound or blunt force trauma or gunshot wound. What do you do?
Well, every autopsy should start with an external examination of the body, looking carefully at the skin, head to toe, front and back, for anything, trauma, scars, disease, psoriasis, wounds, bug bites, a rash, anything that might give you a clue to the activity of the person. Of course, needle punctures for drug use, all of that should be examined. And that's all seen just on the outside of the body. And then the autopsy that the average person typically thinks of begins with the incision, precisely placed, chest and abdomen, opening up, looking at all the internal organs one by one to make sure they're normal, or is there trauma, or is there disease? Was there hardening of the arteries? Was there cirrhosis of the liver? Is the bladder full? Is the stomach full? Did the person eat recently? All of that can be gleaned from the autopsy, internal examination.
If somebody says they died from natural causes, what does that mean?
That's a very broad category, and frankly, it's a majority of the cases that medical examiners and coroners deal with. It means anything from a stroke, to a heart attack, to cancer, to something with their lungs, to pneumonia. It's such a broad category. It just means that there was nothing intervening from someone else or something unexpected causing trauma. So it's a broad category.
And for the most part, that would be able to be determined if it wasn't. I know it's broad, but a medical examiner would be able to say it looks like there was complications with a stroke or a blood clot or a heart attack, something of that nature.
Yes, we find sometimes situations where you look inside the body and what we find is incompatible with life. So we open up the body and there's a stroke that has taken over the entire brain, and we can see that at the autopsy. There are other times when what we see is disease and we find nothing else wrong. So we find hardening of the artery, but we don't see, like, the heart isn't exploded, the heart doesn't have obvious trauma. And we say, the person had an arrhythmia, an electrical disturbance by this hardening of the artery. That's what we think happened. So sometimes it's very...
Cut na natin dito guys, masyadong mahaba na tong si Annabelle. Totoo pala talaga tong Annabelle Dal, Tingnan nyo natin sa Tagalog. Back tayo.
I came from the mud. There's